Hi there. I think this is awake. Good evening, everyone. Sean is back there, filming someplace. Hey, Sean. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what we know will be an exciting and vibrant poetry experience celebrating Disability Awareness Month, as we do daily here at Syracuse University, and not just in October. This is the 5th installment of the Disabilities as Ways of Knowing series, an endeavor imagined and crafted by Steve Kuusisto and yours truly beginning in 2012. In fact, it is exactly 5 years yesterday that Ann Finger joined us for a reading on campus, which excites me a great deal. Creative writing and disability cultures are indeed connected and often find expression in one another. Thanks to my dear friend, colleague, and as he calls me, co-conspirator, Professor Stephen Kuusisto, who will be introducing our distinguished guests, who are to my right, to my left. Well, everything's to the left in my mind. Now that's on camera. Okay. We'll be introducing our distinguished guests momentarily. The Disability Studies program, for which Steve is a university professor, the Creative Writing program, collaborated with the Disability Cultural Center, the DCC, to bring Ona, Gritz, and Dan Simpson to Syracuse University. Co-curricular funds addressed most of the behind-the-scenes and overt needs, with support and co-sponsorship from an array of student groups and university partners. Thanks to everyone for making all of this possible. And I want to give special thanks to Kate Pollack, Lorez Barber, and Elise Prumuy, the Small But Mighty Fall 2017 team at the Disability Cultural Center, joined by Riddell Roberts from Enrollment and the Student Experience, and Rachel Zubel-Ruggieri, acting entirely as a volunteer to assist us, for all that you did and do to have made this event possible. And now it's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Stephen Kuusisto.
There's a delicacy to poetry, and then there's strength as well. Poems circulate. Robert Bly describes the sleeves of Emily Dickinson's dress as they must have felt from the inside. In the same poem, he describes Satan and his helpers falling through the vastnesses of space. When you read a true poem, you're given such combinations swiftly, often musically. But what's true and unmistakable is the soul's satisfaction at feeling its delicacy and remembering its toughness. Dan Simpson and Ona Gritz are poets who know their music, recognize the ironies of imagination, that poetry won't save us, but it won't hurt us either. And then sometimes our souls receive gifts. Consider The Elephant and the Dove by Ona Gritz. Diego Rivera revered imperfections in women. A road of incision traces by his tongue, his kisses pausing and slow at a mole. Beneath Frida Kahlo's flamboyant skirts, his cheek rested tender on misshapen legs, on her torso riddled with scars. She too must have looked at that much older, overweight man and found the beauty there, just as he used his bright palette to paint gorgeous portraits of greed, and she made stunning her own open wounds. Who can say where the gifts will come from? Dan Simpson writes, "In conversation, I try to act undivided, while in fact, I'm on alert for any glitch in composure, any revelation of an actor playing a part. It's often a matter of tone of voice. Most people don't realize it goes even further, that I'm listening to them breathe, that I hear body language." From a poem called Vigilance and Dissembling. No one should imagine poetry makes nothing happen as Auden once said in a moment of despond. Moreover, it's often wise to see poems and poets in conversation, for conversant poetry is a time-honored art. Poems go further than customary speech, as Dan Simpson notes. In their new collection, Border Songs, Simpson and Gritz pay attention to the undivided alertnesses that make poems possible. They also prove how receptive imagination can be to what contemporary neuroscientists call mirror neurons, that we're capable of intelligent empathy, us people, a way of knowing that sees into others, brings nuance and scruple to bear on what we can learn outside ourselves. Ona Gritz is the author of 2 previous poetry collections, Geode and Left Standing. Her poems have appeared in Plowshares, Bellevue Literary Review, Seneca Review, Beauty is a Verb, The New Poetry of Disability, and many other journals and anthologies. Daniel Simpson's collection of poems, School for the Blind, was published in 2014 by Poets Wear Prada. His work has appeared in many journals, including Prairie Schooner, the Cortland Review, Passenger, the Atlanta Review, the Louisville Review, and Margie, as well as in the poetry anthology Beauty is a Verb, the New Poetry of Disability, and the New York Times. His blog, Inside the Invisible, can be found at insidetheinvisible.wordpress.com. And so, it is with great pleasure, and it is indeed an honor, to give you Ona Gritz and Dan Simpson.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Steve, for that very generous and sweet introduction. And thank you all for coming. We want to thank the Disability Cultural Center and Diane, Wiener, and everyone who has worked to bring us here in any way, shape, or form. And we're delighted to be here. We've had a wonderful time. The time is going very quickly, and we're loving it. I'm going to start with a poem by my brother, who passed away in December 2015. And I like to, and Ona does too, we'd like to bring him with us to readings and have his voice heard, and then we'll move into our collection, Border Songs. But this is called Spring Fever by David Simpson. A basketball bounces by the pharmacy as I go in. Thin music from speakers overhead mixes with the almost B-flat hum of neon lights. A cashier, seeing I am blind, locks her register, grabs a basket, and leads me by the hand down narrow aisles as we discuss Best Buys on Colgate toothpaste with fluoride, unscented stick deodorants, and 3-roll packs of 2-ply toilet paper. In my ears, my blood begins to prod. Condoms, condoms, condoms. And I say to her, I need batteries, 4 AA's. Condoms, condoms, condoms. And then let's check out the condom display. She stands on tiptoe to take down the box of 12 latex non-oxidal 9s, dips low to read me others that advertise ribs and dimples, or flavors of mint and mandarin. Don't get the mandarin, she advises, her hair brushing my hand as she stands up. The brand name Excita makes us laugh a little, and I get to talking about Ramses and all his offspring, and what kind of confidence would a name like that instill in someone looking for birth control? To nearby customers, it might seem as if we're lovers or very married. I wonder if I choose a pack of lifestyles. She puts them in the basket, and for just a moment, before we move toward the checkout line. They are ours. So normally, we like to talk a little between poems, kind of to let you know that we want to make connection with our audience. We're going to make an exception because we'll have two conversations. The first one from poem to poem. So we'll ask if we can just read straight through, and if you would like to applaud, save it for the end. But we'll just allow some breathing room for the poems to speak to each other. Is there anything else you want to add on that?
And then we'll have time for questions afterwards.
Yes, I'd love to talk to you afterward. So this is the collection, Border Songs. When we were 4, and my twin brother and I got to jumping on our twin mattresses, which had lain in boredom on their wooden frames, we put our agitators in overdrive, turned our beds into washing machines. Steam climbed up the wall behind our headboards. It's hard work, shaking the footboard fast enough to spin dry a full load. We seem to have been the first in Berwyn, Pennsylvania to discover you could do this. Grandpappy Armstrong just clicked his tongue. Were we the work of the devil? I told myself I was not afraid of the devil, but my fear of the devil tasted like horseradish, and my shame like the smell of sour milk. Down the street lived a dog named Satan who used to shit in our front yard. And every time my Welsh grandmother said, "Yikita," right after the grace, it would make me laugh. Danny boy could laugh at anything. We were as quiet as squirrels. We couldn't sit still at the table because we had plastic plates and cups, and our chairs had their backs to the wall. Father had the shipfitter blues, we bellowed, as the sharp needle of innocence played through the old 78 of evening. And we trampolined into the limbs of old oaks, bouncing harder and higher each time, hoping to stave off night and the ghost of the puppy who had once fallen through our wild arms. Venez, vivez avec nous, said the leaves, promising that stars would bathe us and the sun would dress us. Gute Nacht, said shirts from a laundry basket, and the bed slept, holding hands with the water pipes.
Retelling. The sun was nothing more than an orange the day Lisa ran for the ice cream truck. It was small, and even if it held sweetness, even if it seeped vitamin C, it couldn't stop the car from barreling down Mott Avenue, couldn't shine enough to show the driver the 7-year-old girl dashing in front of his Pontiac so that his foot would choose the brake. The trees that saw it happen were no more than rakes upended. They had no leaves to form shadows. They had no song. For a long moment, doorknobs were merely ornamental. Those of us still in our houses stayed in our houses. I, 5 at the time, kept watching cartoons while the sun watched over us and the trees turned into notebooks so the story could change.
Can I just pause this for a minute? I think we need to get the volume up on
I was about to ask
on
you
the
how to
audio.
do that.
Yeah. Do we know how to do that?
Yes, we do.
Is it on these individual?
Let's turn over here.
Yeah, Ona, why don't you read your poem again, and we can make it seamless.
Okay. Retelling. The sun was nothing more than an orange the day Lisa ran for the ice cream truck. It was small, and even if it held sweetness, even if it seeped vitamin C, it couldn't stop the car from barreling down Mott Avenue. Couldn't shine enough to show the driver the 7-year-old girl dashing in front of his Pontiac so that his foot would choose the brake. The trees that saw it happen were no more than rakes upended. They had no leaves to form shadows. They had no song. For a long moment, doorknobs were merely ornamental. Those of us still in our houses stayed in our houses. I, 5 at the time, kept watching cartoons while the sun watched over us and the trees turned into notebooks so the story could change.
So another suggestion is that I can assist with a microphone that's a handheld. I know that Dan, you want to read and need to read with 2 hands, of course.
Yeah, that's
So
whatever
if you would
works.
like me to sit between you, I will hold the handheld mic and we'll see if that works better.
Sure.
Try that.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
I'll scoot. I'm gonna scoot a little bit.
And it's between you.
It's nice and cozy.
Visitations of abandonment.
Awesome.
It came again, that same dream trip down 95 to Florida. All the motels full so far. My mother asleep in the passenger seat. My father still driving since 5 this morning. Me making him talk every minute or two. How's the traffic? Any motels lately? Until some question goes unanswered. Was it, where are we now? And I say, Dad, Dad? Just tires humming, that's all. Not even the radio crackling over a fading station. I reach up, touch the empty seat, the orphaned steering wheel. And though I am blind and only 8, and know nothing of driving or physics, my bowels can calculate mass times rate of speed. I have never felt a road so smooth.
Hemiplegia 1. I was maybe 5 when I first tried to make sense of it. My split self, the side that recognizes everything it touches, the side that feels muted, slept on. Why do I feel less on the right? I wondered aloud, and with the swiftness of someone who's been waiting to be asked, my mom said, "Your heart's on the left, like everyone's." We were headed somewhere in our blue Barracuda. My father focused on the road, my mother gazing out the passenger window as she defined the world. I sat in back, the middle spot, feet on the hump, left hand feeling for the ordinary drumbeat I shared with every other living soul, right, not feeling much of anything at all.
A blind boy's first glimpse of heaven. I climbed the stepladder to heaven when I was 8, my father spotting me from behind. I liked that he stayed below. How else could I hear where the world was? You can move around, son, but shuffle your feet in case there's a stray bale of hay to trip over. And you don't want to walk off the edge. God was in a meeting, I guess. Anyway, I never saw him. What had he done to Lucifer? What did the Bible mean by cast him out? Did God have a squad of angel goons up there to blindside him from the back and shove him off? I wanted to jump to see if I'd survive. 50 years later, Aunt Polly said, "You better get ready, Dan, if you want God to take you up to be with your dad again. And won't it be great to finally see his face?" I don't know. I'm just getting to love this world for what it is, a flawed place with its subway platforms overlooking the third rail, its haylofts, open sewers and loading docks, and all the strangers who've looked out for me, letting me take their arms to walk with them. I'm thinking, the next time I see Aunt Polly, I'm going to tell her about my new vision. It's really going to be something, I'll say. In heaven, you'll finally get to be blind.
In Rockaway. In Rockaway, I have been out of the water, breathing air, 3 years. They have placed me waist deep, my bottom hanging in the familiar wet like a conch shell. Beside me, standing rooted and tall, father, uncle. I do not yet know they are brothers. I do not yet know I am here because one of them entered water, pulled me out. In front of us, water lifts like a greedy tongue that could take me back. I yell, "Over my head, it's over my head," and the men laugh, raise me by the arms into the air between them. I think it's magic to be lifted whole-bodied, magic that they do it each time, saving my life. I do not yet know this is my element, run like I am by the moon. I do not yet know I will come here sucking the salt from my hair, loving the slap of waves on my bones, letting it drip with a tap down my back. I do not yet know I will come here in dark hours with other men, finding the water I began collecting inside me on this day, making it rise, dance, begin to seep.
Ocean romance. Until today, it seemed, only others connected like this at fast food stands and train stations or outside juice bars on the boardwalk and felt summer open into another country. But now it is we who are walking in together, hand in hand, reporting by shrieks the moment of shock when the water freezes our genitals. The undertow is strong this cloudless night. There are no lifeguards here, no one else, except two far-off surfers trying to catch the edge of an augured hurricane, which seems as unreal to me as the Messiah in Sunday school. "Never fuck with Mother Nature," you laugh when I begin taunting the ocean. And then you outshout me, "Is that all you have? That's the best you can do?" How can so soon I be carrying you, your bare back and legs like liquid all over my arms and chest? You have your eyes on the moon. Even now, it is calling you through cycles in ways it can't call me. Whose babies will come out of you like stars, if not mine? If I hold to you this way, will I feel the tide? Dish out everything, I'm thinking, everything you've got. Someday, maybe, even on dry land, we will splash each other's shoulders with our own salt water, our eyes cleansed and clear. People have died in here, hoping for a lot less.
Border song. Yaj cured me of my taste for bad boys, when we kissed at our 10th grade beach party, someone's staticky transistor ruining an Elton John song, the crackling bonfire giving our clothes and hair a sweet burnt smell. Later, he bragged to his friends that my nipples grew hard when he grazed them, like it was his sloppy tongue and not the ocean chill that made them into little beads. I wrote his real name, Jay, in the sand with a stick and erased it, then wandered to the water's lacy edge. Away from the others, I wondered how it felt to kiss a boy and feel something, how it felt to kiss a boy who mattered. High school's half over, kids shouted, dancing in the orange light of the fire. I half wanted to go back to that first untouched September. I half wanted all of this to hurry up and end.
All day, new friends, Massachusetts Youth Hostel, summer of '99. We three rode in the back seat of Larry's '88 Impala, you on my left, Karen on my right, naked, except for our bathing suits and sandals. Larry driving, it being his car, and singing with Paul to an REM tape on tiny speakers, while we three talked about who smoked grass and when and what it was like, and marijuana brownies and the difference between them and smoking. Our warm knees and thighs, hips and arms rearranging themselves against one another as we jangled over ruts and potholes, jangling memories and wishes loose so that I, knowing we were one day old together and tomorrow this would end, said, my breathing feeling thick, where were you all? You and Karen and Paul and Larry. When I was in high school, the first blind kid trying to hear a few friends in the pep club's Thanksgiving Eve bonfire crowd, trying to find his way to a party of the coolest classmates. Where were you? Which prompted Karen to say, yeah, it would have been great. And you on my left to say, hey, what about playing basketball? Can we do that? I mean, there must be a way we can figure that out. "18. We never spoke of what my body couldn't do. So when Jen and Kay left to pick apricots from the spindly tree behind the library, I hesitated. But Rich would be there. I showed up in a wraparound skirt, my excuse to stand at the base, pluck from the bottom branch. The fruit was concentrated at the top. While the others climbed, of course it was Rich I watched, squinting up at him as I had all summer. The night before, he'd finally kissed me, his tongue tentatively grazing my own. Catch, he called now, and I lifted my skirt to form a net. No thought to palsy, to exposing my uneven legs. When the first tangy oval dropped into the voil, I had already begun to taste it, how it felt to be chosen and whole. My excuse. I lit the candles, poured the wine. You were hungry too in that college room, but for something more permanent than I. I was still too much the young boy made to sleep in an open dorm, desire and curiosity stoked by years of being forced to play on a cold northern playground separate from the girls. You had dreams that expanded into deep time. All I wanted was a generous friend in a narrow bed in a closet of a room. Love, or so I called you then, can you give me a free pass? I say I only wanted something safe and narrow, and yet on some blind level, I saw the rightness of the wide and deep you hoped for. What I hoped for when I sweet-talked the house mother as I snuck a radio into the dorm. I thought I might get lucky and catch a wave of love song from some station in the sun-soaked South, a wave that would sweep me across the playground and over its high brick wall.
Hemiplegia 2. Left, my bright half gets all of it. Soft, sharp, prickly, wet, lined. But press your head against my right shoulder. I sense weight, but no warmth. Your cheek to my right touch, stubble free, whether or not you shave. Under my right fingers, your silver hair holds no silk, nor can I feel it part into single strands. I'll tell you how I know you in the dark. Left whispers the details. Right listens and believes.
Vigilance and dissembling. Since I don't see and have no visual cues, I'm fascinated by how sighted people dissemble. I bet they keep their faces unflustered, while behind their stationary eyes, another set of eyes checks you out. I say this because in conversation, I try to act undivided, while in fact, I'm on alert for any glitch in composure, any revelation of an actor playing a part. It's often a matter of tone of voice. Most people don't realize it goes even further, that I'm listening to them breathe, that I hear body language. Someone talking with her right hand while I hold her left doesn't know how much I know from the way her body moves, as if she never touched a tie line to a dock and guessed the boat was bobbing up and down.
When the man you love is a blind man, you can stop shaving your legs when the temperature drops, and he'll say he likes a change of texture with the seasons. You can leave that bit of silver in your bangs. Your fashion advice will be gospel. When he tells you you're beautiful, you'll know he's talking about something in you that's timeless, something about you that's true. If, teasing, he says that smearing color on your face is what a clown does, explain how a touch of blush can change the feel of entering a room, and he'll listen. He'll always listen, like the wide world is a raft with only two people on it, and he finds you the more interesting of the two. Imagine going with him to the Rockies. He hears you sigh and asks what the mountains look like. All you have are words. Awesome, grandeur. But when you describe that feeling of seeing your one life for the flicker it is, he knows. Oh, he says, oh, it's like hearing music in a cathedral.
Listening to New York radio in the middle of the night. There in Insomniac City, where the dial can easily hold 5 languages beyond English, and stations bleed into each other, Emily Dickinson, satisfied she could no longer see to see, spoke through a piano, while a Spanish man, half crying, half singing, declared he too would die if the one he most desired did not give him her undying love. Between Emily and the Spanish man, a sitar spoke harmoniously about rock-steady faith while picking its way along a path of dissonant doubt. Commercial life finally put to bed, Lennon woke up from a good dream, his imagination intact. He sang with the sitar, calling the chutney and raita left over from last night's dinner to put on spiritual livery. They, in turn, inspired the beans in my cabinet to take on a holy presence, and the cabinets themselves, dazed at first, recalled the distant spirits of trees. And when the whole house became tuned like this to the radio, my father kindly caught a coach from that other kingdom to sit in my living room, if only for a moment, and casually talk with me of ordinary life.
Donner Lake. I chose the still mirror of this lake, clean sky preening above it, redwoods doubling green. The hungry name, ancient history, and sudden winter. This was August. From the radio, John Lennon asked us, imagine no heaven. We let your heavy ashes go. First smoke, then silt. If you had some other place in mind, you never said. Or, I wasn't listening just then.
My pants are drenched with rain. My pants are drenched with rain, which came sideways and up my legs as I walked home from the bus. Once, Jenny filled my hand with hers as we walked in the drizzle. Her hands were wide and quiet, hands that could listen, quiet like a priest at confession. My father's hands were busy, not soft and uncalloused like mine. I touched all the caskets before I chose a pine box that was smooth and lean. No nicks or splinters like the rocking boat he hammered together for me in the cellar. I picked a pine box and the sun poured down. But now my pants are drenched with rain. May there be no time this weekend, no time and not too much sun. May there be no more train whistles saying you must go somewhere, and none of the usual loneliness. I have other pants, dry pants, that would match the red shirt with the swan, the one I have on. I am rich, my ears are full of talk. Once, my arms were full of someone half my age. Her shirt was filling up with water, and yet she breathed air in and out. She did this repeatedly and without effort. Everything she did amazed me. Pretty soon I will be dry. Will the memory of my father fade the way rain evaporates? My mind is full of words. I have not run out of things to say. I make emphatic statements about the future and the present. Jesus shall reign, and the rain it raineth every day. How many years of rain make dust of a wooden coffin? 1 week after my father was buried, it was raining and I was touching myself, thinking of Debbie, who wrote on our prom picture that she would never forget the night we had. Jenny just called to say, it is raining in Seattle now too. My mind is full of rain and my heart of dust and longing.
Downpour. Surely you've been there, walking on a street at the start of your 20s, under a downpour so sudden you're drenched moments after dismissing that first drop as mere air conditioner spit on your skin. Around you, people rush to cluster beneath awnings and the narrow shelter of doorways. But though you can hear your mother's voice urging you to follow, it isn't cold. You haven't far, and in truth, you like the weight of your sopping hair, and how your clothes cling as though pressed by the flat of a hand. So while people have begun to stare, a man leers, and a child says, "She crazy," nudging his mother. You keep your stride beneath the sky of this particular day, taking what it has to offer.
Acts of faith. Friends describe colors to me. Trumpets are red, they say. Clarinets, purple. And oranges taste like orange. I believe them. No reason not to. I buy books to read with equipment for the blind. It is an act of faith. In the bookstore, all the pages are blank. At the checkout counter, I pay with a bill that earlier the grocer said was a 20. Or I sign a blank slip wherever the cashier tells me. No big deal, I say to myself, walking out the door. Nobody knows everything. I smell the city, oil and brown. The yellow sun shines lemonade, which means the sky must be blue.
Ignoring the apples. Her name is the beginning of night. Mornings she nibbles on figs, draws, stick scraping earth, watches for animals in cumulus clouds. Afternoons are a hum of meal preparation, peaches that bleed sweetness, greens she splits at a touch, nuts that shell themselves. Her husband sighs as he eats, breathes compliments, rests his head on her stomach to invent words. Finally, the sky turns plum-colored. God's tree becomes shadow. A hiss in the air whispers Eve, or maybe it's please.
Adam's deposition. We would lie naked in sun warmth, talking hour upon hour, our slack language sweet as honeysuckle on an almost aimless breeze. Or we would walk all afternoon through grasses, stopping only to eat of the garden. And then, one day, while I dozed, happy just to know she was near, she came to me, her mind different. How can I put it? Humming like bees in clover, ready for something untasted. I had never heard her so awake, so full of purpose and wonder. I wanted to go where she went, and so yes, I said, let us both put it into our mouths.
Abraham's hand. As though they were your own, you know the sloping lines and dry patches in your father's palms, the calluses on his fingertips, like small coins hidden in the skin. You know the crevice of a scar between two right knuckles, and the dark pattern of hairs above. He has given you tools and shaped your fingers around them to show you their uses. Mussed your hair and passed you countless baskets of bread. As a baby, you clutched his rough finger the way birds wrap their feet around branches to stand. Now he comes to you, saying, "Walk with me to the mountain," and holds out his hand.
The price. Father told me nothing of his plan and God's for me when he shook me from sleep long before the animals awoke. I was old enough now, he said, to carry our supplies up the mountain to the clearing and the thicket. I only learned of the plan as we came back down, him singing lustily to God, drunk with relief, crazy happy. I'm glad he doesn't tell how I tried to run when I realized what was happening, how I cried as I lost my fight against the lashes to the altar he had improvised. He only tells of the Lord's loving kindness, of his own unflagging faith, the miracle of a ram appearing just in time from nowhere. Jehovah is great, he cries after each time he tells the story. I nod to keep him happy, but at night I lie awake.
Exodus. A woman has painted her doorpost with blood, so that now, in gray half-light, she shakes a small shoulder, pats a curved back, and her children startle awake, allow themselves to be rushed into clothes. Trusting the hush, they quietly follow as she walks with their father, as they join a river of families coursing from home. They walk and walk, a block of bread dough on her back. She is used to waking early, used to hefting, carrying, hurrying tasks, such as the life they steal away from. And she could almost feel light, listening to the sound of her children's feet beside her, breathing the baby's sour milk head resting on her chest. But she hears the cries of those other mothers, the ones waking now to the stiff, unblinking bodies of their boys. Joined by 1,000 voices, the wail rises thicker than the dust they kick up as they walk. Can we let ourselves be loved by such a God? She'd ask this of her husband, but she knows what he would say. Adonai Echad. What choice do we have?
Providence. I met my girlfriend in yoga. I was there on a whim. Her class across town had been canceled. Meant to be, she laughed 6 months later. Dumb luck, I said. When the tsunami struck, Thomas Goodpenny crossed himself and thanked God for his charmed life. The deal he was supposed to close in Sri Lanka had already fallen through. Finally, when pushed to the wall, my mother admitted, "No, I don't absolutely know there's a heaven. Nobody does, but I don't want to take the chance by not believing. I just shuffle the options. Take my dog in the car and hope there's no accident, or leave her at home and pray for no fire." Yet, last week at a writer's workshop, the leader dumped a pile of cookie fortunes in front of my girlfriend. "Take one," he said, "and see if it doesn't somehow surprise your poem." "Wait till you hear this, Mr. Dumb Luck," she whispered to me, tucking it into her pocket. Back in her room, she unfolded it. "Stop searching forever. Happiness is right next to you." I thought she meant it for me. She thought it was meant for her.
First anniversary. Once, as a child, I had my father close his eyes for a surprise, then distractedly walked him into a wall. Now, guiding you, I know to mention each curve, each puddle to be stepped over, to place your palm on the chipped rail beside the subway stairs before I follow you down. All the while, the tip of your folded white cane peeks from the side pocket of your pack like something inner and exposed. We've spent this year learning one another. One night, you asked the color of my hair, then repeated the word brown, an abstract fact to be memorized. The dark strands were splayed on your chest as I listened to the beat beneath skin and rib and thought about trust, your life in your hand given over to mine.
Why I'm so mixed up about rhyme. Because I'm just as mixed up about home. Whether I want dinner every night with the same people who might be kind to me, or just as easily start a fight. And it's not just rhyme, but rhythm, the way the two combined control and shape a line. Soon lines make stanzas, as walls make rooms and houses that keep horses from coming in to dine. But isn't it good sometimes to force things to go where they wouldn't otherwise? In the apparent safety of a partner and a home, isn't there always a surprise? Oh, I am a wild pony galloping across Chincoteague, governed only by my desires, unencumbered by familial ties. And simultaneously, a man with the same woman every night, my domesticated hand resting between her thighs.
There, among the halves, a girl with one prosthetic leg dances at a club in short skirt and heels on the cover of Sunday Styles. Her silver thigh textured like sequins, hair over her face, not to hide, but she's lost in that song. I tape her photo next to my desk. Remember the morning I had you touch my calves, the right thin with palsy, the other full and strong. That same day we kissed like teens in a New York cafe. Your guide dog curled like a throw rug at our feet. Anyone else making out, you asked? Just us, I said, eyeing an indifferent crowd. And there, among the halves, those with sight, with matching limbs, you whispered that my breast spell a perfect C in Braille. So this is how it feels, I thought, to inherit the earth. How it feels loving one of my own.
Questions. It was you, darling. Oh, it was most definitely you. Even in a dream, I know the exact angle of our noses in kissing. I know the fragrant melange of fish and flower that is your olfactory fingerprint in the nakedness of love. So it was strange then that you were my sister in this dream where we giggled and worried that our father might innocently, imprudently peek in. Not my sister, to be precise, but in the role of sister. I've been asking myself all day, why? Why, with all the wanting, no reduction in our usual desire, would you be made a sister? To send me back to my real sister with better than I've given her before? To show me what long time lived in love looks like? And what if we all had sisters who would fall asleep with us? Would we learn earlier to love? Come, my love. Isn't it time we were family?
Well, can we please have some acknowledgement for our beautiful poets? Thank you.
Thank you.
So there are... We have some students very eager to come in here, as is evident from the shifting, excited sounds. So I'm wondering if rather than having a Q&A in here in deference to the space and the campus needs, if we could bring our party outside. And there is a very inclusive and delicious array of food for you. And I just want to say one more time, from the bottom of my heart, it's inexplicable to have sat here between the two of you in this role. So one more round of applause, however you want to express it. We will have books to sign. There are copies of one of Dan's collections in Braille as well as in print, and there are several other collections in print, as well as the Beauties of Verb anthology. Please come and join us for some food and conversation. Thank you, everyone.